The wind howled outside like a wild animal. Dust flew across the rocky ground of the alien colony. Inside a small metal house on the edge of the outpost, Ethan sat alone, fixing a broken power coil. His hands were covered in grease, his eyes focused and his mind lost in silence. Ethan had lived alone for 2 years. He liked it that way. After the war, he didn't want noise, didn't want people. He had his tools, his machines, and his quiet. But that night, everything changed. Knock, knock, knock. The sound was sudden and strong. Ethan looked up. No one ever came to his door, especially not at night. He stood up slowly and grabbed a wrench, just in case. He walked to the door and opened it. There, standing in the cold wind and soft purple rain, was a woman, but not a human. She was tall, her skin a smooth, silvery blue. Her eyes were wide, glowing softly in the dark. Long white hair stuck to her face from the rain. She held 2 small alien children close, one in each arm. They were shaking, afraid, and wrapped in a thin blanket. "Please," the alien woman said in broken English. "Shelter, cold, my babies." Ethan stared, shocked. He had seen her kind before, but never this close. They were called Virelians, peaceful aliens who had lost much during the war. Most humans avoided them now. She looked into his eyes. "I warm your bed," she said, her voice soft and shaking. "My children need father." Ethan's heart stopped for a moment. "What did you say?" he asked. The woman looked down, ashamed. "No place for us. No food. No home. They say human heart. Warm. I ask you. Please." The children looked up at him. One was crying. The other clung to her side. Ethan stepped aside. "Come in," he said. Inside, the room was small and simple. 1 bed, a table, some tools, and a heater. Ethan gave them a dry blanket and made them sit near the warm coils. The children were silent, watching him with big glowing eyes. He brought them food, simple rations and warm soup. The woman bowed her head in thanks and helped feed the kids first. She didn't touch her own food until they were full. After a while, Ethan finally asked, "What's your name?" She looked up. "Zayla." He nodded. "I'm Ethan." Zayla smiled a little. "Thank you, Ethan." As the night passed, the wind grew louder. Rain hit the roof like sharp fingers. Ethan sat near the door, thinking, why did she come here? "Why him?" he asked her. Zayla explained slowly. Her husband had died in a mining accident 6 months ago. The Alien Council gave her nothing. No home, no food. Some even told her she was a burden. She had walked far with her children searching for help. "And you came to a human?" Ethan asked. She nodded. "They say, human man strong, can protect, can care. I hoped story true." Ethan didn't know what to say. He had spent so long pushing everyone away, and now this strange woman was sitting in his home with 2 alien kids sleeping on his floor. Zayla looked at him. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You alone. I see your eyes. Same sadness as me." Ethan turned his face away. She wasn't wrong. Later he gave her the bed and made a spot for himself near the door with some old blankets. Before sleeping, Zayla softly spoke again. "I no mean to offer body," she said, her voice full of shame, "but that is Virelian way. We offer warmth, for help, for safety." Ethan nodded. "I understand, but you don't have to. You and your children are safe here." Her eyes filled with tears. "You are kind, Ethan." He didn't reply. He just closed his eyes, but his thoughts wouldn't stop. Why did she choose him? Why did it feel right? Outside, the storm howled louder. Somewhere in the dark, something watched from the trees. Yellow eyes blinked once and disappeared. Something or someone had followed her, and Ethan's quiet life was now over. At 2 a.m., Ethan woke suddenly. Something had touched his arm, but when he looked, no one was there. Except The front door was open, and Zayla was gone. The wind had calmed, but the air inside the house was still cold. Ethan grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. Purple mist floated low across the ground. He followed soft footprints in the wet dirt, small bare feet leading toward the nearby woods. He found her kneeling beneath a tall tree, arms open to the stars, whispering in a strange alien tongue. Her silver-blue skin glowed faintly in the moonlight. She was crying. Ethan stayed back, unsure. He didn't want to scare her, but her voice cracked with pain, each word like a broken memory. Suddenly, she looked back and saw him. Sorry, she said, standing quickly. Didn't want to wake you. Ethan looked confused. What are you doing out here? Shayla hesitated, then walked closer. Talking to him. My mate. My lost one. Ethan said nothing. She took a deep breath. There is truth. I didn't tell you. Back inside, while the children slept, Shayla sat at the edge of the bed. Her long hair was damp and her hands trembled as she spoke. My husband, they say he died in mine collapse, but not true. He was killed. Ethan sat up straight. Killed? By who? Shayla looked down, eyes full of fear. Hunters. From my clan. They came to punish. Said he shamed our blood. Ethan frowned. Why? Shayla's voice dropped low. Because he helped humans. Protected them. Loved peace. That was his crime. Ethan clenched his fists. She continued. He found a human child once. Alone. Starving. He saved her. Raised her with our kids. When the clan knew, they sent hunters, not to scare, to end. Ethan now understood. This wasn't just about a widow needing shelter. This was about survival. Ethan stood and locked the door again, then reinforced it with extra steel bars. You think they'll come here? He asked. Shayla didn't answer at first, but then nodded slowly. I feel them. I know how they move. When they hunt, they don't stop. Ethan looked toward the children, sleeping peacefully on a warm blanket. One of them clutched a strange object, round and glowing softly. What's that? He asked. Shayla smiled weakly. Father Stone. It glows only when a true protector is near. The light grew brighter as Ethan approached. He stared at it. It's glowing for me? Shayla nodded. They chose you. Later that night, Shayla prepared food for the next day. She moved quietly, gracefully. Ethan noticed the long scar on her back when her robe shifted. That from the mine? He asked gently. She paused. Her eyes met his. No. She whispered. It's from them, the ones who come in the night. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. Just before dawn, Shayla handed him something wrapped in cloth. Inside was a silver dagger, alien-made, but old and worn. This was my husband's, she said. He used it only once, to protect us. Ethan stared at the weapon. Shayla placed her hand over his. You do not have to stay, I understand. But if you choose, we survive together. Ethan didn't speak. He just closed the cloth and placed the dagger near his tool bench. Outside, far beyond the trees, a low growl echoed in the dark. Something was already watching. Ethan had set 5 motion sensors around the home. At exactly 3:33 a.m., one of them beeped once, then went completely silent. The others followed, one by one. No sound, no alert. Just gone. As if something had eaten the signal itself. Ethan shot up from the floor, fully awake now. He grabbed his flashlight and the alien dagger Shayla had given him. Quietly, he checked the children. They were still asleep. Shayla was awake, already near the window. She didn't speak. Her eyes were locked on something outside. Do you see it? Ethan whispered. She slowly nodded. There, she said softly, pointing to the dark forest beyond the outer fence. Eyes, yellow. Not blink. Just stare. Ethan scanned the trees with his light. Nothing. Just fog, brush, and the old sensor poles. But then, behind the third tree on the right, he saw them, two glowing yellow eyes. Still, watching, unblinking. Then, they vanished. Ethan didn't wait. He rushed to the control box and rebooted the signal system. It refused to turn on. EMP pulse, he said. Someone used an alien jamming device. Jayla placed her hand on his arm. They are here. Hunters, from my bloodline. They track by scent and silence. They come not to speak, only to finish what they started. The next morning, Ethan inspected the fence. Burn marks along the metal. A clean cut through the wiring, surgical, precise. No footprints, no blood. Just a single sign carved into the dirt, "Return the widow." Ethan stared at it for a long time. Later, inside, he asked Jayla more about these hunters. They are chosen by the elders, she said. Trained from childhood to a race. Shame. My husband's love for humans, that was their shame. I carry it now. Ethan sighed. Then you're not just hiding, you're marked. Jayla nodded. Yes, and now, so are you. That evening, Ethan went through his storage shed. He pulled out old war tools, drones, EMP nets, and defensive shields. Not all of them worked, but he began repairing what he could. Jayla helped where she could, holding wires, bringing parts, but mostly watched in silence. Her children played quietly in the corner, drawing symbols in the dirt with sticks. Suddenly, one of them walked up to Ethan and held out a small rock with strange carvings. This is for you, the girl said. Mommy says you are like Sky Father. Ethan blinked. Sky Father? Jayla smiled. It means guardian, the one who watches the stars for danger and protects the home. Ethan took the rock and placed it near his tools. For the first time, something inside him felt needed. Not just useful. Trusted. That night, Ethan set up motion lights, trip alarms, and a heat sensor near the trees. As the stars came out, he stayed awake, watching from the shadows. At 2:12 a.m., he saw it again. A tall, shadowy figure moved silently across the edge of the woods. It didn't touch the ground. It glided just above it. Cloaked in black, face hidden. It stopped at the fence line and slowly turned its head toward the house. Ethan held his breath. The figure raised its hand. One finger pointed at the house. Then it disappeared. Ethan didn't sleep after that. In the early morning, the children were playing with an old toy ship when one of them said, Mommy, someone left this on the doorstep. Jayla rushed over and grabbed the object. It was a piece of cloth, a sash deep crimson in color, with 3 long claw marks burned into it. Jayla gasped. This is from their lead hunter, the one called Varnex. It means final warning. Ethan looked at her. What does it mean exactly? Jayla's voice shook. Next time, they don't warn, they take. Outside, high above the clouds, a second moon had appeared, one that hadn't been there before, and somewhere beneath it, something was moving through the fog. The sky turned blood orange. Birds vanished. The wind stopped. And the silence became so heavy even the insects fell quiet. That was the first sign. The second was worse. Every defense system Ethan had turned off at the same time. Ethan jumped from his chair as every sensor, alarm, and light blinked out in one breath. Dead. No power, no signal, no warning. He rushed to the control box and opened it. Fried circuits, burned edges. Someone had sent a targeted energy pulse straight into the wires. They're here, Ethan muttered. Jayla stood at the doorway, holding her children close. Her eyes were wide, glowing softly in fear. Then came the sound. Screech! A slow dragging across the outer wall. Not a knock, not a bang, a claw. Testing the walls. Get inside the storage room, Ethan said to Jayla. Lock it from the inside. Don't open it unless I come myself. Jayla wanted to argue, but didn't. She obeyed, whispering to the children in her native tongue and guiding them into the back room. Ethan stood alone. He grabbed the alien dagger and one of his repaired plasma spikes. He only had 3 that worked. He shut off all lights. Darkness would be his ally. Outside, the wind picked up again, but this time it howled. A shriek echoed across the trees, too sharp for a human throat. Something had entered the field around his home. Ethan crouched by the window. Then, a flash. A shadow ran past the glass. Fast. Too fast for any normal being. Another flash. This time from the other side. They were circling him. Ethan knew what they were doing, trying to confuse him, trap him, make him afraid. But he wasn't the same man who once ran from war. He opened a hidden panel in the wall and pressed a button. A trap door outside the house dropped open, one of his backup devices from his soldier days. Clang. A scream. Ethan checked the camera. It was back online for 3 seconds. A tall creature writhed inside the pit, arms twisted, its face covered, in a black mask with long, sharp teeth painted across it. Then the feed cut again. Got one, Ethan muttered. Let's see how many more there are. Suddenly, something slammed into the door. Hard. Boom! Ethan braced it with his shoulder. Ducker shook again. Then he heard a whisper, through the wall just on the other side of the metal. Human. Lever. And live. It wasn't shouted. It was spoken calmly, like a deal being offered. Ethan replied with silence, then activated his second trap. Zap! Electric bolts shot through the metal wall, a loud shriek. Then silence. Smoke curled from under the door. Suddenly a sharp crack behind him. Ethan turned. The back wall had been breached. He spun around just in time to block a curved blade with his dagger. Sparks flew. The creature, taller than any he'd seen, snarled at him. Mask cracked on one side. This was Varnex, the lead hunter. Ethan dodged and stabbed low. The alien shrieked, but didn't fall. Its armor took most of the blow. Ethan kicked it back, then activated the plasma spike and threw it. Direct hit. Varnex howled as the plasma burned his side, but he wasn't done yet. He charged again, faster this time. Ethan barely blocked, his shoulder taking the hit. Pain exploded through his body. Jayla burst out of the storage room screaming. She held her own blade, ceremonial but sharp. No! Ethan shouted. Stay back! But Jayla didn't stop. Together, they fought. The children stayed hidden, but the room shook with violence. Finally, after many blows, Ethan saw his chance. He struck Varnex across the chest and slammed him into the wall. The hunter hit hard and didn't move again. Ethan fell to his knees, bleeding and out of breath. Jayla knelt beside him, holding his face. You are protector, she said softly. The Father Stone chose right. The children rushed out and hugged them both. For now, it was over. But Ethan knew this wasn't the end, because as he looked outside deep in the mist, more eyes were watching. When Ethan opened his eyes, he saw a child's face above him, silent, scared, and glowing softly blue. Behind the child stood Jayla, covered in blood that wasn't hers, and on the wall, written in ash, were 3 alien words Ethan didn't understand, but he knew exactly what they meant. You have been claimed. Ethan's body ached with every breath. His shoulder was wrapped in bandages made from alien fabric and his own shirt. The smell of burnt flesh still hung in the air. Jayla had pulled him to safety after the fight. Varnex, the leader of the hunters, was gone. Dead or escaped, they didn't know. But one thing was certain. Ethan had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. He wasn't just a helper now. He wasn't just offering shelter. He had fought for them, and that meant, by Varelian custom, he belonged to them. That morning, Jayla prepared a strange mix of herbs and paste. She gently rubbed it on Ethan's wounds. It stung like fire, then cooled like ice. You were brave, she whispered. Foolish, but brave. Ethan tried to sit up, groaning. Did I kill him? Jayla shook her head. No, you hurt him, badly. But Varnex is not like others. He will return, with more. Ethan looked out the window. Smoke still rose from the woods. The trap pit was empty now. Whatever had fallen inside had been taken. Maybe alive, maybe not. Jayla took a deep breath. There is something I must ask you. Ethan turned to her. She held up a small carved object, a glowing crystal with a swirling mark inside. This is the soul seal, she said. It binds families under Varelian law. No hunter can touch a bonded home. No clan can break that law. Ethan narrowed his eyes. You want to make me your husband? She paused. I want to make you our protector, the father of this home. They only fear law, not love. Ethan looked at the kids quietly playing with broken tools in the corner. One of them looked up and smiled at him. Papa, she said. He froze. That one word was heavier than any weapon. Later that day, Ethan walked to the wrecked fence. With Jayla's help, he rebuilt parts of it using old solar panels and scrap metal. She climbed with ease, using her clawed feet to scale the walls. She even laughed once when she slipped and fell into a pile of bolts. Ethan smiled. It was the first time he had seen her laugh, and it felt warm. As night came again, they gathered around a new fire inside. The house smelled of food, strange herbs and spices mixed with ration packs. The children cuddled close to Ethan as he told them an old Earth story about a brave fox and a hunter. Jayla watched him closely. You are different from him, she said suddenly. From who? My husband. He was gentle. You are quiet thunder. Ethan wasn't sure if that was a compliment, but it didn't matter. The children called him Papa again that night, and he didn't correct them. Later, while the children slept, Jayla sat beside him. She wore a soft robe and her long silver hair was braided down one side. Her eyes glowed faintly in the firelight. You still have time to walk away, she said. I won't stop you, but if you stay, we will follow you. Call you father, call you mate. Not because you must, but because you are worthy. Ethan looked into her eyes. I didn't ask for this, he said. Jayla smiled sadly. Neither did I. There was a long silence. Then Ethan stood and placed the soul seal in her hand. Do it, he said. Let them know this family isn't afraid. Outside, high in the trees, hidden hunters watched the flames glow brighter from the house. One of them whispered, He's accepted. Another replied, Then we wait. The bonding will bring them all out. And far above them, a small drone blinked once. Someone else was watching too, not a hunter, not an ally. Something far more dangerous. The sky was clear, too clear. Not a single cloud moved, not a breeze in the air. And then, the stars began to flicker, not dim like lights, but blinking, as if something massive was moving in front of them. One by one, the stars vanished. Then came the sound, a low, deep hum that shook the ground. Something was coming, and this time it wasn't just hunters. Ethan stood on the roof looking up. He held a telescope in one hand and a modified rifle in the other. It had been quiet for 3 nights. Too quiet. Below, Zayla gathered food and water. The children packed small bags. The family was ready to run if needed. But run where? They had soul bonded only 2 nights ago. A Varelian ritual done by fire and vow. A promise between protector and widow. A promise the hunters could not legally break, but laws didn't stop everyone. Jayla looked up and froze. Ethan, she whispered. Look, there. From the sky, a ship descended, but not like any ship they had seen before. It didn't roar. It didn't burn. It glided silently, like a ghost made of metal and shadow. It wasn't a hunter ship. It was royal. Ethan backed down from the roof. He wasn't ready for this. The Varelian royal guard didn't come unless something serious had happened. Jayla's face turned pale. They know, she said softly. They know I bonded with a human. They know the hunters failed. And now, they want to take you. Back? Ethan asked. Jayla shook her head. No, worse. They want to erase the evidence. The ship landed just outside the fence. Its shape was like a giant blade. A single door opened with a hiss and 3 armored figures stepped out. They wore silver robes and black masks. One of them held a staff glowing with red symbols. Shayla whispered, "That's a trial keeper." Ethan frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means we're not here to survive. We're here to stand trial." The trial keeper stepped forward. His voice echoed unnaturally, as if many voices were speaking at once. "Shayla of the Moon bloodline, you have broken sacred order. You have bonded with an outsider. You have raised royal children under foreign protection. You will come. Or be taken." Shayla stood firm. "We are a family. That bond is sacred too." The keeper turned to Ethan. "Human, step aside. You have no place in this." Ethan didn't move. He said nothing. But his hand went to the dagger on his belt. The keeper narrowed his eyes. "Then you choose death." Before anything else could happen, the earth shook. A sudden explosion erupted from the forest behind the ship. Trees snapped. Rocks flew. From the fire came Varnex, burned, bleeding, alive, and angrier than before. "I warned you," he screamed. "You protect a curse. Now burn with her." He launched a spear directly at Ethan. Shayla screamed, but something strange happened. The soul seal around Ethan's neck glowed bright blue, and the spear stopped mid-air, shattered, and turned to dust. Gasps echoed from all around. Even the trial keepers stepped back. Shayla stared. "The bond has been accepted. By the source." Ethan looked confused. "The what?" Shayla's hands shook. "The source, the energy of our world. It only protects those truly chosen. Not just by words, but by heart." The trial keeper hesitated, then knelt. "All laws bend to the source," he said. "The bond stands." But Varnex didn't care about laws. He roared, charged forward, and pulled two glowing blades from his back. Ethan met him in the center of the field. Their blades clashed, metal against fire, fury against resolve. The children watched in horror. "Shayla," screamed his name. In the final blow, Ethan knocked Varnex down and placed the dagger at his throat. "This ends now," Ethan said, breathing hard. Varnex spat. "Then finish it." Ethan didn't. Instead, he dropped the blade and walked away. Shayla ran to him, wrapping her arms around his broken form. Behind them, the keeper approached Varnex. "You dishonored law. You attacked the chosen. You are the curse." Then, silence. That night, the stars returned, one by one, blinking back into the sky, and inside the small metal house on the edge of the colony, a human father held two alien children in his arms, while their mother watched, tears in her glowing eyes. When Ethan awoke, he wasn't in his home. He wasn't on the colony. He was floating, weightless, surrounded by stars, and across from him stood a figure made of glowing stardust, speaking in a voice older than time itself. "You have been chosen, not just as protector, but as bridge between two worlds." Ethan gasped and sat upright. He was in a healing pod, surrounded by soft lights and a humming tone that calmed his nerves. The last thing he remembered was collapsing after the battle with Varnex. But this place, this room, was not his home. Shayla sat beside him, her hand resting on his arm. "You were gone 3 days," she whispered. "Your heart stopped once, but the soul seal pulled you back." Ethan looked around. "Where are we?" She smiled. "You're in the Royal Sky Temple. Only bonded families are allowed here." Just then the door slid open. A tall Varelian priest entered, robed in white and gold. His eyes shimmered with cosmic energy. "You are no longer just a human, Ethan," he said. "You are kin by bond, by law, by spirit." Ethan blinked. "I didn't ask for any of this." The priest nodded. "But you answered anyway. That is what makes you worthy." Later that day, Ethan stood on a floating platform looking down at the planet where his home once stood. He saw the wreckage of the battle, the scars in the trees, the broken fences, and still, he felt no regret, because standing beside him were Shayla and the children, alive, safe, Chosen. The Royal Council invited Ethan and Jayla to a sacred ceremony. Not a wedding. Not a coronation. Something older. A joining of fates. The priest led them into a circular chamber filled with energy fields and glowing runes. Ethan held Jayla's hand as they stepped into the center. "Do you accept this life?" the priest asked. "Not just as man and mate, but as guardian and guide." "I do," Ethan said without hesitation. Jayla smiled and answered, "Forever." Then the soul seal rose into the air and burst into a soft blue flame, wrapping around them like a second skin. Their bond was no longer just a symbol. It was now part of the stars. When they returned to the colony weeks later, something had changed. Other Varelians came to their door, not to threaten, but to learn. Other widows, other outcasts. They brought food, gifts, and their own stories. And slowly, Ethan's home became a haven. One day, the younger child, Mira, climbed into Ethan's lap and asked, "Do all humans fight like you?" Ethan laughed. "No, most run away from trouble." "Why didn't you?" He looked at her, serious now. "Because your mother knocked on my door." Mira tilted her head. "That's it?" He nodded. That's all it took. Over the months, Ethan taught the village how to build defenses using earth tech. He taught the kids how to repair machines. He even opened a small school, with Jayla teaching languages and alien history. They were no longer hiding. They were building. One night, Jayla and Ethan sat under the stars, wrapped in a shared blanket. The children were asleep, and the wind was gentle. "You changed me," Jayla whispered. Ethan smiled. "You saved me first." She looked at him, eyes glowing. "The universe is wide, Ethan, and cruel, but tonight it feels small and kind." He kissed her forehead. "That's what family does, makes the universe smaller." Far above them, on a royal station orbiting the stars, a new law was written into the Varelian records. Let no bond between species be denied, where love, sacrifice, and courage have proven greater than blood. And so the man who once lived, alone at the edge of a cold alien world, became the father of a new kind of future, one not born from war or power, but from a single knock on a lonely door.